Welcome to another exciting episode of Stalking the Retro, Episode 3, Micromen, Iron Lady. I'm your host, Indie Soul. Joining me once again is Ian, our resident UK expert on all things gaming. Sit back and enjoy the show. So, Ian, let's jump right into our topic for this episode, which is handheld electronic games. What do you think about them?
All right, well,
What do you got?
which ones are we going to talk about? Well, I got Game & Watches, so that's probably about it.
Well, all I have is one VFD, and I've got a few LED games on the way from Game Gavel.
All right. What LED games you getting?
I've got Harlem Globetrotters basketball, Space Invaders, and Red Light, Green Light.
All right. I used to have a mate who had the Tomy scopes. All right, it's this it's obviously it's made by Tomy, but it's like a thing you put on your eyes. It's kind of like a rudimentary version of the Virtual Boy.
Mm.
Yeah, and
Is it 3D?
it didn't. No. The idea is that it has like a white sheet on the top of it, and the idea is you either play it outside or you play it near a light. And the idea is as light hits this thing on the top of it, like this white sheet, it actually illuminates the inside of this scope. And they created a few games of it. The one which I remember the most was a game called Shark Attack, where you drive a submarine and you shoot sharks. I'm trying to remember the others. I remember there was 3 different games you can get, and this was like back in like the late 80s. And
So tell me, we're still making games in the late 80s. Wow.
And I'm trying to remember. I know Shark Attack was the most popular because I knew at least like 3 kids at my school who had Shark Attack. And then there were 2 other games, and I can't think what they were. I'm going to have to try and look this up. Sorry about this. I'm holding my mic.
I've got my VFD game is the Tomy Lupin from 81 or 82.
Oh, right, that was the one you. That was the one you won on live show, didn't you?
No. I bought it through Game Gavel. SoCal was selling it for $20. I'm like, fucking hell, I gotta get a VFD, $20. I mean, come on, that's a damn price. Nobody else bid on the damn thing, so I got it. And I also got the Space Invaders LED for $5. No box, but it has a battery cover. And the Red Light, Green Light for $5 as well. And the basketball game cost me $13. So. In the box.
All right. I'm trying to look this up. I may have actually, I may have misnamed this. I'm trying to look it up on Google. Oh, what the hell? Maybe it was a Tomy goggle or something. I don't even know.
Nothing's more exciting than listening to somebody type on Google. That's what Delamar does all the time. I'm always like, Delamar, are you searching for gay porn again?
Oh, Tomytronic 3D. That's it. Yeah, here we go. This is it. I'll send you a link and I'll show you what I'm talking about. This is it. So it's called it's called Tomytronic 3D. And I didn't even think it was in 3D. Maybe it was, but I don't remember it being 3D. And then the idea is that you can see in the pictures there's like this white bit on the top of the unit, and that's where you had to have light on it so you can actually see what was in the game because it wasn't backlit.
So it just used like natural light to make it visible?
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty wicked.
And I remember seeing a few of these. I didn't have one myself, but I had a few friends at school who had this. When I played it, I couldn't recall it being in 3D. I just thought it was just cool at the time. But
you think they would make it stereoscopic at least? considering it
Yeah, it
looks like a
probably
pair of
is. It's
binoculars.
probably the reason why I had to put two eyes in it. It probably worked
Yeah.
in a similar way to how what were those oh man, there was a toy I used to remember when I was like really young where you had like a pair of goggles and you put a disc inside and then
Viewmaster.
you yeah, you go. And
Those are
yeah.
fucking awesome. I love those.
I think it may have worked in the same way as the Viewmaster, but I don't remember it being 3D. I just thought it was just a cool video game that you put your eyes into. But no, I remember my friend had one of these, and I used to try and play it a lot. Oh, okay. I thought you played as a submarine, but it looks like you're actually
A diver
like
shooting
yeah.
shooting at the sharks. Yeah. Looking at the photo on the box there. Yeah, it looks
Now what
pretty
the
cool. It
hell?
doesn't say when it came out. It just says 80s. So from the
All
look
I
of the
know
box,
is
it's probably like mid 80s at least.
all I know is that the technology where you have the light shining down on that panel, I know that's actually a Nintendo patent or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Because Nintendo created a set of Game Watches called the Panorama View, which worked in a similar way, except you didn't use goggles.
Hmm. I've never heard of those before.
I got to look it up because um, I know there's somewhere. I've been told that there's somewhere on. Apparently, someone told me that either if you look into the packaging on this, there is like a Nintendo trademark somewhere, even though it's a Tomy product.
That's funny.
So Tomy actually sent Nintendo money to make these things.
Here we go. It has its own wiki page. Imagine that. Yeah, 1983. So earlier than you thought.
Huh.
It
Okay,
says
here we go.
device features straps so the player would be able to wear it our, his, or her neck. I think they meant over. Between playing. You gotta love Wikipedia where anybody can fucking edit shit. Tommytronic simulated 3D by having two LCD panels that were lit by external light through a window on top of the device. Released in 1983, it was the first dedicated home video 3D hardware. Well, shit, it sounds like the Virtual Boy just copied it and added, instead of like a light sheet,
Ah, but
they had
these
LCD.
were in color though.
Oh, it was a color 3D. Oh,
Yep.
nice. So better than the fucking Virtual Boy.
No, I'm looking at a whole bunch of models. Apparently, there were different regions had different models. So in the US, you had no, oh no, this is Japanese. So in Japanese, you had something called Sherman Attack, which is like some kind of um, tank game,
Yeah.
and then you got Jungle Fighter, which looks like a very bad looking Donkey Kong. You
Yeah, it looks
then
like they
had
came out with 7 games total.
And then there's something called Planet Xeon, which looks kind of like a cross between of Tron and what was it called?
Space Laser? Space Attack?
What was that tank game that Atari made?
Battlezone?
There you go. Because it has like these spaceships that look like something out of like what was it? What was the game in Paradroids, wasn't it? The game in Tron.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they look like
Totally good.
the spaceships in that look like the ships in Paradroids.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
And so we've got
Sky Attack,
Thundering Turbo,
Thundering Turbo, and
Sky
Sky
Attack.
Fighters.
Yeah,
You can find photos of them all on the pocketgamer.co.uk.
I'm looking at this, which is from a handheld museum. Space Laser War.
Yeah, handheld classics retro roundup. Well, and they all look very similar. They're red, and the one I'm looking at is red. It's got the light thing at the top and the goggles. Pretty cool shit. I'd love to get one of those
Dogfight.
Munchman LCD games. If I ever go back to Japan for a visit, I'll definitely try to pick up some of the
Oh
awesome.
man, that reminded me. I used to have an LED Pac-Man.
Oh, right.
but the battery's leaked in it, so it doesn't work anymore.
Oh, no. Oh, no. That's no good.
And then I found out that they actually sell for a fair bit on eBay, and I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah, I bet they do. I know, like, the VFD games sell for a quite pretty penny. I was lucky to get my Tommy Lupin for only 20 bucks. It's in great shape. Well, I had a few problems at first. I had to take it apart and clean the D-pad. It had like 25 years worth of grime, 30 years worth of grime in it. But once I cleaned it out and swabbed the contacts with alcohol, it works perfectly now.
Cool, cool.
Like brand new. Screen's a little bit scratched up, but you can see so well because the VFD colors were so bright and clear. It's just so awesome. Tell me about the Nintendo Game and Watch games that you have. You listed on the last podcast, but give me a more apt description. Describe in detail.
Okay, well, I mean, this was Nintendo's first attempt to actually create, well, they did create a few video games before this, but this was like the first time that they tried to create video games that they can sell to customers outside of Japan.
All right.
And originally, the original concept was that they wanted to create a portable video game. Um, well, the idea actually sprung up when Gunpei Yokoi, who was the guy who created the Game Boy and created quite a lot of different hardware for Nintendo, saw a bloke just fiddling around with his calculator on the train, and he thought to himself, "What if that calculator was a video game?" So he then started figuring out ways which he can manipulate liquid crystal. So rather than be like bars that you see on a calculator, he could actually make them into shapes. And he then eventually created Ball, which was the first Game and Watch game.
All right. That's the one they recently re-released for if you have Nintendo points or whatever.
Yeah, which I really do want, but I haven't got enough ever to
Yeah. They're selling on
to ever
eBay for
afford it.
like $100 and some shit. And I don't have any Nintendo points because I haven't owned a modern Nintendo console in years. All I have are my
Um,
retros.
I'm about 2/3 of the way there, but I just can't do it. It's just like, how many more games have I got to get to afford this? And this is going to get a little silly now.
Yeah.
But no, they created Ball, and then
What year was Ball created?
I think I think it was like 83. I think. Let me have a quick look.
It's right around the
Uh,
time they were making the VFD and LED games. They were already onto LCD technology.
wiki. Let's have a look. So, um,
You just love the internet. If you don't know the answer, you can always just look it up.
the thing is that I'm in a bit of a scenario right now because I've lost my little stand for my microphone, so I'm like holding it, and then I'm like, typing with one hand. Yay.
That's what I'm doing as well. Also, I don't want my microphone anywhere near my keyboard so it doesn't make that bap 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 sound.
uh, Now I've got it in my armpit, which doesn't really help. uh,
Good thing I don't have a smell-o-vision. Smell-o-scope.
ugh. Okay. Oh, okay. No, it's according to Wikipedia, the first Game and Watch was in 1980.
Nice, nice. So yeah, right about the time the VFD games were pretty big. Did you ever own any LED games back in the day?
LED games. I'm trying to remember if I did. Oh, actually, I do remember I had like this crazy. It was like a big. Pretty much, it was like the poor man's equivalent to a Vectrex.
Oh yeah.
Um, it was basically a it was basically just a light bulb in a box with a transparency which was on a loop with a motor inside, and it would then turn this transparency round and round on a screen, and all you did was like move it left and right, and you try to shoot like spaceships. But because it was on a constant loop, like it got a little bit too easy.
It's kind of like those racing games that look like a steering wheel where you're driving down the a looping track or whatever.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of those, but they were like for toddlers and stuff.
I have a feeling this one may have been made by Tomy as well, but I honestly can't remember. This was a bit back, but all I remember was that in order to replace the batteries on it, you had to open the whole thing up so you could actually see what it looked like from the inside.
Oh boy, that was made by Nintendo or Tomy? Tomy?
I think it was Tomy. It was some Japanese toy maker.
Mm-hmm. Well, I tell you what, I love the look of the old 80s Tomy VFD games, like the Lupin game, for example. Looks like a little mini computer from back in the day. It's pretty awesome looking. And, the game is pretty rudimentary. There's only like 3 screens, and then it loops you back to the first screen. And you're basically just running around collecting keys and shooting. But they're supposed to be monsters, but they look a hell of a lot like your own legs. So I don't know if that's a symbol for something like shoot your own legs out from under you. Apparently it's based on the Lupin manga series, Lupin 3 manga series. And then they went on to make a whole load of like a fucking what is that? The disc game, Laserdisc. They made a Laserdisc arcade version. They've made ports for different systems, but they're all similar concepts. You're a thief trying to steal keys and escape from the police.
Yeah, that's Lupin the Third.
Yeah.
Although what's funny is that I always find it funny in the dub for the English dub for the release outside of Japan, they keep pronouncing him Lupin. Like they like put an A in the name. It's like you do realize he's got an I in the name, but
can't even spell those bastards. Have you ever owned a VFD game?
I was going to say I was looking at I'm looking at this website here called Retro Trader, and there's no link to this. All it is just a really tiny. Oh, here we go. Oh, I've made it bigger. I remember having this, and it was it's not really a video game. It's just like it's like a little assault course for like a tiny ball bearing.
Oh, yeah. Send me the link.
That I can't even see what it says ARG across it. I don't even know if that's the actual name for it, but
do they have any for sale on this website or?
Well, this is just looks like it's just pictures.
All right, well that sucks. It's hard to find those VFD games. I mean, sometimes SoCal finds one at the swap meet and puts it up on Game Gavel, but it's I've only ever seen a few. There's a couple of Miss Pac-Man on there for a while, but they sold already. That's weird. It's not working on my end. It won't load.
Oh.
I don't know why. It just says the connection was reset. Oh well.
I'm just trying to find what the hell this thing I had when I was a kid. I don't even know if I have it. It could be in the attic for all I care. But like I said, it looked like a white Vectrex, and then it had a joystick that only moved left and right, and then you had a trigger. And you just had like this transparency which was lit up by a light bulb inside the machine, and you just shoot alien spaceships.
Well, listen to this, what it says about the Tommytronic 3D. It says, presenting the kind of three-dimensional visuals that Nintendo would later try to replicate at a greater cost and with much less commercial success with its Virtual Boy console. Tommytronic 3D came in a wide range of different flavors.
Yeah, well, the Virtual Boy was just chaos.
Just a fucking experiment gone wrong, I think.
No, it was just that they delayed the N64 for so long that they needed something out. Because of course, there was by then the Sega Saturn and the PlayStation was already out for like almost 2 years at that point, and Nintendo was, they were behind, and they were just kept delaying the N64, and they had to get something out in the market so they could make revenue, but whoops.
So it was just some kind of gap filler before the N64 finally came out.
Mm.
And hell, the N64 did pretty well, didn't it?
Well, surprisingly, I was looking up the marketing and stuff like that, and apparently the N64 did way better in the US than it did in Japan and Europe.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that, I wonder?
I just think, well, I know that in Europe, people just really liked the PlayStation at the time, and I think it was the same with Japan as well. I just think there was just a bit more love for Nintendo back then, even though as an international sales, the Sony PlayStation did way better. But surprisingly, in Japan, the Sega Saturn did very well, and that was because of a crazy marketing campaign which was created that involved getting a Japanese celebrity to dress up as a judo dude who basically beat people up if they weren't playing Sega Saturn.
Oh,
you should look that up.
I
Go
have
on
to
YouTube.
look those commercials up.
Yeah,
Maybe
go
add
on
one
YouTube
into this
and
podcast.
Go on YouTube and type in Segata Sanshiro. That was the character that they came up with. It was just this dude that was just like, "You're not playing Sega Saturn," and he throws like a dude on the floor.
Now is this what year was that? Like early 90s?
This was like mid to this was like mid 90s until 98 when they released the Sega Dreamcast in Japan.
It was kind of like they were copying the commercial style of the Sega CD, because remember the Sega CD games were the same way. Like a guy on the TV, what? You haven't bought your Sega CD yet? Get your ass down there and buy one. Don't you want the best graphics known to man?
But this is way more. If you
Even
watch
more
these,
over the
these
top
are
than
way
that?
more extreme. Yeah, there's like there's a bit where like there's like a nightclub. And there's all these people dancing, and then he just appears and then just beats everyone up.
Oh, nice.
Just throws everyone on the floor.
I gotta see that.
Oh, the best one ever was a Christmas commercial, and there's this child that goes Santa son, and it's just like, I'm no Santa. Play now.
Santa さん来るかな？来るかな？
セガサタンシロセガタ三四郎からのプレゼント三四郎ディスクもついているセガサタン
It's just like, oh my god, he didn't beat up the kids. They're only like 5.
Classic. Yeah, I used to really love my brother. I don't know where he got it, maybe a pawn shop or something. When I was probably about 12, he gave me a Coleco head-to-head football, and I just wasted fucking hours and hours on that game. I fucking loved it. I wish I still had it.
That was a little handheld LED game, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and it was awesome. It was just little red blips, trying to get across to get your first downs and get your touchdown. But damn, it was fucking addictive as hell. So I'm hoping this basketball game that I'll be getting soon will be similarly addictive. You ever had any of those crappy Tiger Electronics LCD games?
No. They didn't really sell that many over here. The only ones which I remember being brought into the UK was when uh, I know a friend from way back in school. He got himself this. he got. I didn't believe they made this, but they made a what is it called? A Power Rangers Tiger game,
Yeah, they made
and the idea was that you had like a trading card with a barcode on it, and the idea was to play as a particular Power Ranger in the game. You had to swipe this card across, although it was completely bullshit because it was just black and white anyway. The only difference was if you swiped the White Ranger in, because he looked different. He did actually look. You actually played as a different LCD on the screen, which was the only difference between them anyway. But I just remember trying it out and then just thinking, "Wow, you bought this?"
It's kind of like the way I feel with the Chinese versions of what they're. Chinese are still selling those crappy, Tiger-esque electronics games like that Angry Birds game that I reviewed on my YouTube channel.
Actually, do you watch a set of videos on YouTube by a guy called Dr. Ashen?
Oh hell yeah! I love Ashens.
Yes.
He does all the pop station.
The
That's
pop
why I
station.
said in my video title it's a homage to Ashens. And then 2.5, almost 3 weeks later, he did the exact same game that I did. So people were like, "Hey, you should be happy. Ashens finally did a review of the game you did first," because I was the first person to put it on the internet.
And then you start sending him smug messages back to him. I did it first.
Actually, I did comment. I was like, "Hey, Ashens, thanks for finally making a video of this."
I did it
took you
before
3 weeks. Ha 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 ha.
Oh man, no, I'm looking at this website. I had a speak and spell.
Oh wow.
Oh man, I remember these. I remember these.
That's the one where you just pull the string and spin around.
No. This was okay. No, the speak and spell it's like a really, really rudimentary computer, and all it did was it teaches you how to spell. So it would actually speak out a word in really, really bad robotic voice, and you would have to spell it out. You have to use a keyboard which was on it to write it down, and then it would, it's like spell rabbit.
Oh, I think I've seen some guy bent instruments fuck around with those and change them up and make them actually sound better.
Hold on, I'll send this link to you. But no, I had one of these. They were great. And then each time you press the letter on the keyboard, it would actually just like spell it out to you. So it was like A, B, C, D.
Oh yeah. Now I remember those. I never had one, but I've seen them before. I was thinking of that weird one where you spin a dial and pull the string and it says cow moo.
Oh yeah.
What the fuck were those called?
It had a similar name, but I can't think of it.
Better.
Yeah, and they got Simon on here. I think everyone had Simon at this point.
Oh yeah. Actually, I don't think I ever had a Simon game before. I sent my Angry Birds pop station off to SoCal Mike because I played it for just a little bit, made the review, and like, fuck it, I'm never gonna play this piece of shit ever again.
Oh wow. Okay, no. I think I've just found something that looks similar to what I had as a kid, but this was like a really small version. This is like a scaled down version of the thing I had, and it looks like you press buttons rather than use a joystick. But what's on that screen is identical to what I had in this little game that I had.
Oh yeah, Mini Arcade Cosmic Clash by Tommy.
Yeah, it looked very similar to that.
What
Um,
was so? Was it like one of those Pac-Man ones that they have, or?
Well, it was like a little. This one was just like a little game where you just, like I said, you're in a spaceship and you're shooting alien spaceships,
All
and it
right, so
just
it's
kept
like
going round in a circle. But that looks very similar to what I had, except the difference between what I had and what this is that this is a really small version of it, which looks like an upright arcade cabinet. Was the one that I had looked like it was a much bigger thing that looked like a white Vectrex with like a proper joystick on it.
oh wow, cool. Yeah, these things sell for a pretty penny, don't they? 35 pounds for one that's
Yeah, that's
out of the
35
box.
quid.
Hmm. It's not even VFD.
Yeah, like I said, it was just a transparency with a light bulb in the middle. So it wasn't exactly the most impressive piece of technology.
No, definitely not. Yeah, I'm thinking about trying to find some more Korean versions of pop stations, but yeah, it's weird. Like I find them all at once, and then I think, no, I'm not gonna do a review of that. It's shit. And then just one day I ran into that Angry Birds knockoff, and I was like, hell yeah, I'm buying this thing. $7, sold. Played it a couple times just for the review, and then set on my shelf for a month. And then I was sending a care package out to SoCal. I thought, what the fuck? I'll just send it to SoCal. Maybe he'll get some use out of it or something, you know. Because I'll never play the damn thing. Maybe he'll give it to one of his kids or his dog or something. Let his dog chew on it for a while. It's totally cheap made.
Oh man, okay, no, oh, now that's interesting. I have this, but see, they're calling this Munchman, but the one that I have is actually called Pac-Man, and it did have Namco written on it. Let me
All
just
right.
send this to you.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is the LED Pac-Man that I had, but it says here Munchman. I'm pretty certain that the one that I had, which had the batteries leak on it, was called Pac-Man. And what's interesting was that you see where it says Munchman by Grandstand. Grandstand actually made quite a few ports of Pac-Man on different machines. I actually had the Commodore 64 version of Pac-Mania, which was made by, it was developed by it was developed by, I don't know who developed it. I know Grandstand published it and then got rights from Namco, and they put Pac-Mania on the Commodore 64.
All right. Yeah, I'd love to get one of those or a couple of those Tomy, like Pac-Man and Space Invaders, Defender, VFD ones, but they sell for like $60 online. It's just
Oh,
a little expensive.
yeah.
Yeah. There was one on Game Gavel for 30, but I didn't know the seller too well. Didn't know if he would be willing to ship all the way to friggin' South Korea. So I generally just deal with SoCal because he's nice enough to ship my shit out to South Korea, and so far he has yet to lose a package, so I'm happy about that.
All right. I just realised the Simon that I had isn't actually a Simon. It's called a
Get a
Wizard.
knockoff?
It was called a Wizard, and it was by VTech. I'll send that to you as well. No, it makes sense now because like it was just a set of LEDs, like a grid of LEDs, and you had like these. Not only did you actually have the Simon game, but I remember now there was like a game where there was like one LED that went round in a circle, and each time it got to you, you had to press your button
Mm-hmm.
because you can like play with like four people, so each person had their own
All
their
right.
own button,
Oh,
and
cool.
then you had to like keep passing the LED light round in circles.
That's what I like to do on a Saturday night. Pass around LED lights. It's like the red light, green light that I'm getting. It came out in so many different flavors. There was even a Hot Wheels drag racing version, exactly the same, except they changed the art to make it look like a drag racing game.
All right.
So I'll
Here we
pretend
go.
it's a drag racing game and not some children's red light, green light game.
Anyway, no, this is what I had. So this is the Pac-Man I'm talking about. As you can see, it's pretty much identical to that Munchman that I showed you. But this, yeah, so this is made. Oh, so this is okay. So this was actually done by Tomy. So I don't
Yeah,
know,
that's the
maybe
one I was thinking of
Grandstand
before.
made a knockoff.
The Puck Man. In Japan, they call it the Puck Man.
Yeah, and then realize, oops, if we take the curve out of the P, it becomes an F.
People will be erasing it at the arcades just for fun.
Oh man, there's a scramble.
Oh yeah, they made everything for those fucking Tomy.
I'll have to try that one out, although it doesn't really look like Scramble, though. It looks more like, surprisingly, well, then again, I was going to say it looks like Gradius, but then again, Konami likes to think that Scramble was like the prequel to Gradius.
Of course, it is not.
Well, it plays sort of similar. Well, you only had just the missile that would what was it, the air to ground missile, but apart from that, it sort of is. It's a very rudimentary kind of anyway.
Like Galaxian became Galaga.
Yeah, and then Galaga became Gaplus, although no one really liked Gaplus.
No.
I mean, it's an all right game. It was a bit out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind it, but I still prefer Galaga.
Oh, I fucking love Galaga. I even used to have the NES version of Galaga.
Ooh.
That was pretty close to the arcade, for a kid.
I guess.
We didn't know any better.
Fair enough.
But yeah, Galaga is one of the arcade games that I remember playing the most. I remember on my birthday one year going to Kansas City to watch a baseball game, and at our hotel they had a little arcade, and I probably spent like $30 in a few hours just playing Galaga over and over and over again.
Nice. See, I wish I was actually, born probably around the same time as you did, so I was actually old enough to play arcades when they were actually
Well, hell, this was
big.
86 when I went and.
Well, I was only 2 then, so.
Yeah. Well, you could have stood on a little box and played it.
But no, I was gonna say like Galaga and Pac-Man Championship Edition DX are the only 2 Xbox 360 games that have all 200 achievement points.
All right. I have Galaga Dimensions on my PS3, PSN version, but I prefer the Pac-Man. What is it? Pac-Man DX or something?
Yeah. Galaga. What was it? Galaga Legions was the new Galaga game.
Galaga
it's
Legions.
all right, but it's more like Gaplus than Galaga.
It got pretty bad ratings because it's just a little too different from Galaga.
Yeah. Well,
like Turbo
see, the funny
Graphics
thing is,
16 version which was a port of Galaga 98. It was called Galaga 98. Have you ever played that?
or Galaga 89, you mean?
Galaga 89, yes.
Yeah, I actually have that.
The numbers.
I actually own that. I've got it on the Turbo Graphics. It's actually a really good game. I love it when it like tries to become more like a modern top-down shooter. but it does stick to its old school gaming where you can only move left and right.
That's what makes it so awesome. I love that part. It doesn't change it up too much. It just kind of, adds a little bit more.
Yeah.
It doesn't take away from the original. Whereas Galaga Dimensions, it's just a completely different game.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't mind Galaga Legions and Galaga Legions DX. I mean, I have both of them, but they are very different games, and I can see why people may not like it. The only difference between the original Legion and DX is that DX is more of a twin stick shooter, whilst DX you had these satellite guns that you would actually plot in the game and you just shoot stuff. But
what I found
I mean,
about
it's not.
Galaga Legions was it was too easy because you could warp everywhere and you could like pause and slow down the action and just
But
fuck.
the biggest no, when you get to Act 5, that's where that's
where it
balls
gets
to the
difficult.
walls. It gets a bit insane on Act 5. So
I don't think I played
it
it
was
more than 20 minutes. I got a little bit bored of like, what, you can slow down the action? Fuck this. Back to Pac-Man DX.
well, you slow down the game in Pac-Man Championship DX.
Yeah, but you needed to in that game. Those fucking ghosts are evil. They're fast, man. Playing
Yeah,
Pac-Man on my Atari 2600, I suck at it, man. It's just horrible. Like, I die. Like, I think the furthest I've made it so far is like 5 whole screens. That's it.
Oh, right.
So I'm like, Jesus, I suck. Maybe I need to clean my joysticks. But then I tried using a Genesis pad. Yes, I know that's blasphemous. And I just barely did better.
A Genesis. Wait, what were you playing this on?
Atari 2600.
Ooh, yeah.
Very blasphemous, but I thought, if this joystick is sticking, I might as well see if this helps. And it didn't really help that much, so. Maybe my joystick's fine, maybe I just have no skills. Probably the more likely answer.
You just reminded me. I still need to get a copy of the Sega Mega Drive version of Ms. Pac-Man.
Oh yeah,
That
that's what
looks
I was
really good.
playing on Atari 2600 was Miss Pac-Man. Tried playing Pac-Man. Yeah, Miss Pac-Man just looks better on the Atari 2600 and plays better.
It's just I've been looking at videos of the like the Mega Drive version of Miss Pac-Man, and they it's almost like a remake because they like add new mazes and they've updated the graphics, and it actually looks pretty good.
But it still holds on to the old retro feel and style.
Yeah, it's very basically it is like a 90s equivalent to Pac-Man Championship Edition. But it's very it's still it's 16-bit but still holds on to how the game should look. It actually looks really nice. And like
I'd
I
love
said,
to find it as well, but in Korea it's really hard to find any kind of game, let alone Genesis games. But I'll keep looking.
I need to. Let's see. I'm gonna have to use Feebay here.
Check on Game Gavel first. Feebay is always secondary choice.
Well, I mean, I don't. I mean, I've been buying games from SoCal, but it's just when you go on the UK one, there's like hardly anyone there, and if they are there, the prices are extortionate anyway. So it's like, oh, great,
outrageous.
I've found like 3 guys on there that are already on eBay anyway, and they've got the same prices, so it's like, why am I bothering?
So you only have a PAL version of the Mega Drive?
Yeah, I have 2 PAL Mega Drives.
Have you done a mod on that so you can play NTSC?
Well, I have the Mark 1, and the Mark 1, you can actually play a select series of NTSC Genesis games on it.
Oh, really?
It's just that not every one of them can do it. Like some of the more later Genesis games will not work on it. But I know that there's a way you can switch it around so you can change the language, and you can also I think someone's already made a 60 hertz mod for it.
Yeah,
so
so I was about to ask you, can you speed it up because it runs at like 50 hertz, so it's a bit slow.
Yeah, there's meant to be like a you can set it so that you can either run it in NTSC or you can run it in 60 hertz mode. Although the 60 hertz mod I've seen for it is a bit mad. You have to like make a whole new circuit board, and you have to use crystals and shit, and it's just like, oh my god,
serious fucking modding project. I really need
Yeah.
to mod my Genesis, but I need to get some of those double throw switches because I've looked everywhere at hardware stores here and I can't fucking find one small enough. All they sell are like ones for light switches, and they're too huge. But
yeah.
I've got
Oh,
like 3
I'm
Japanese games that I can't play because they have region lockout chips. I have an American Genesis that I bought in Korea, and I have a Mega Converter which allows me to put like the Korean and Japanese games in. But the few that, like for example, Virtual Racing and Sonic 3, neither of them will work. They have a lockout chip. They're both in-box Japanese versions. But I was so frustrated, I was like, fuck it. And I found that Sonic 3 Pirate Cart, and which uses the American art, but it puts it on like a Mega Drive cartridge. And I was like, oh, this is fucking hilarious. I gotta buy this. $3 sold.
Wow, I'm actually looking at gamegavel.co.uk. There is nothing.
Oh, look at the regular Game Gavel then.
Yeah, but it's all going to be NTSC, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true.
There is absolutely nothing. It's just like 3DO 0, Acorn 0, Apple 2 0, Arcade 0, Atari 400, 800, 1200 0, Atari ST 0, Atari 2600 0. All across the board.
SoCal was talking about just shutting the site down because there's hardly any, nobody uses the UK version.
Which is a shame.
Is,
because,
yeah.
I mean, I'm surprised because I looked at this a few months back, and like as I was talking about, there was I did see a few eBay sellers because I've been trying to track down a Game Boy game, which was only released in Japan, called X, and it was actually it was like a spiritual prequel to Star Fox.
All right. That sounds cool.
And it was like a wireframe game on the Game Boy.
That sounds pretty cool.
But the guy was like selling it for like 50 quid, and I was like, no, not paying that much for a Game Boy game.
I was looking at a Game Boy game the other day. It was a Japanese boxed version of Yoshi's Cookie.
All right.
I'm not really sure if it's worth $20.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it isn't.
It's like, didn't really like Yoshi's Cookie on the NES. I don't think I'll enjoy it on the Game Boy either. And for $20, no thanks.
Yeah, I managed to get Yoshi's Cookie for like, I think it was like £1 on eBay once.
Yeah, it's a super cheap game. Why would I pay that
And
much money?
I got that with
Korea.
I got it with the manual, but without the box. I couldn't really care, to be honest. But
Yeah.
it's one of those forgettable games.
I can get like 30-in-1 Game Boy Pirate cards here in box for $20. I wonder if it's worth to pay that for those. This is basically $1 a game, and it's the it's the hacker kind of pirate kind of look to it. So it's kind of intriguing. Maybe I'll pick one of those up eventually. The shop I went to, the guy had like 5 multi-carts for the Game Boy.
All right.
Wonder how rare those are. Probably not too rare because most people don't like to collect pirate carts. Because there's really no way to value them.
Now I'm just looking at this retro games site, and they've got like the Game Boy listed on here. Ooh, ow! I don't. They've got the Game Boy Color version of Yar's Revenge, but they're selling it for 12 quid. I don't think I really need it for 12 quid.
So how many Turbo Graphics 16 games do you have?
I think I've got about 5. They're really it's just really rare over here, and what's funny is that it's rare, but I managed to get a whole bunch of games on the cheap. And the really thing that really irritates me is that I know there's this Swedish guy on eBay that's trying to sell them off for like 30 quid a piece. I'm like, no. And he hasn't sold any of them. I keep looking at his eBay shop, and I'm like thinking to myself, you do realize if you actually drop the price on these, you could actually potentially sell them.
Somebody might actually buy them. I think he's probably just holding on to the hope that some newbie will go in there and, oh, I really want that game. I'll pay whatever.
And by the
price
time
is.
he's done that, and by the time
Spent
he's
that
done
much
that,
money
he
in
would have
fees.
spent. Yeah, it's like durr. So,
Or he should
well
start
done.
selling on Game Gavel and get that site to back up the UK one, you know, so that you can finally buy games again.
I'm just going through this website's. They've got way too many GBA games. I have too many GBA games. Here we go.
I have no GBA games.
What have they got here? So Mario Picross. That's a good game. Although I've already got it. Gargoyle's Quest. That's a pretty good one. £9 though. Ow. For just the cartridge.
Are you looking on their eBay shop?
No, this retro games thing is actually a shop.
Oh, right.
So I'm looking at the Game Boy games that they're selling.
They have an eBay shop as well. It says Retro Games
do they?
eBay shop. Click here to go straight there.
Oh, okay. I didn't actually see that, but
Fine, man. They've got Sega Mega Drive Vector Man for £7, £6.99.
Yeah. Never really liked Vector Man, to be brutally honest.
It was too fucking hard, that goddamn game.
I've got it on way too many like Mega Drive collections to actually buy the physical copy.
I recently picked up what the fuck is it? Herzog Zwei for the Mega Drive.
What?
You never heard of Herzog Zwei?
No.
It's like a shooter / RTS game.
Oh, wait,
Very
hold
famous.
on. Is that the Cho Anarchy prequel?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. Okay. No, I have heard of it. It's just I don't know. It's just probably the way you pronounce it. I was like, oh, but I wouldn't be able to pronounce that name anyway.
Herzog Zwei.
But no, that So
It's a pretty
yes,
famous game, and
a lot of homoerotica.
well, not this one. It's just you're shooting. You know, you're in a spaceship going from base to base, shooting enemies, setting up your bases and stuff.
All right.
It's just an RTS shooter. You
Fair
must be
enough.
thinking of something else.
Now that I'm literally thinking of Cho Anarchy.
Yeah. Oh, Cho Anarchy's that. Yeah. I don't think it's by the same. Because that's very fucking gay. But yeah, there was some sort of unofficial sequel to that game, but I can't remember the name for it.
No, I did buy the first Cho Anarchy on Virtual Console as a laugh. It's not actually that bad of a game, but it's just it's just. What's hilarious is that in the first Cho Anarchy, you can actually play as a woman.
Well,
and then
a
every
woman
other
in
game
quotation
after
mark.
that. And then every other game after that, you play as the irony. The other Cho Anarchy games, you play as like two dudes with like a hole in their head where they shoot lasers, which is really random. But those two characters were actually like the options in Galaga, like the little ball things that shoot lasers when you shoot lasers.
Mm-hmm.
They were more like those.
All right.
So you and basically Cho Anarchy means big brother, and those were the big brothers that you can use to help you out in the game.
All right.
But
well, this guy has a lot of Sega Master System games for like £4 each.
Yeah, Master System games are pretty cheap. They always were. Like I remember, like when I was told that when the Mega Drive, well, not the Mega Drive, the Master System came out, like the typical, like even like a new release game was like £20. They were selling them pretty cheap over here. And that's why they were so. That was why the Mega Drive was so popular over here, because compared to the NES, the NES was releasing games. Day one games were like £40,
Oh, yeah.
and the Master System was half the price. So people went for that instead. And plus, the Master System was actually a tad more powerful than the NES anyway. So it's just then again, I always preferred the quality of the NES games.
Oh yeah,
but there are some pretty decent Master System games though. Like the first Phantasy Star was pretty damn impressive, considering it came out like a week after Final Fantasy in Japan.
Oh, it's an RPG. That's why I never played it.
Yeah, well, if you put Final Fantasy 1 and Phantasy Star 1 together, there's a huge difference.
All right.
Phantasy Star honestly looks like you were playing like a PC game at the time, whilst the first Final Fantasy looked really rudimentary.
Oh wow. I'm just scrolling through all the games he's selling here. He's got a lot of ZX Spectrums and Amstrad CPC games. And...
My friend had a Spectrum.
And it sucks, right?
Well, there's some decent games on it.
The Spectrum or the Commodore 64?
Okay, spec-wise, the Commodore 64 for certain, but there's a lot of games that I remember on the Spectrum, and that's why I appreciate it. Like Manic Miner and Jet Set Willy, Saber Wolf, Jetpack. There were some really good games on it. I mean, yes, it looked... The graphics were terrible compared to the Commodore 64, and it hardly had as much processing power as the BBC Micro. But it was a very, very cheap computer that became very, very popular, and there was a lot of people who made games, and a lot of British developers who make games now originated from making games for the ZX Spectrum. So
there was at the time there was the ZX Spectrum and Sinclair.
Well, okay,
or Sinclair the ZX Spectrum.
Yeah, Sinclair made the ZX Spectrum, but by the time they made the ZX Spectrum, Alan Sugar bought it out, so it was the Amstrad ZX Spectrum. But Sinclair were the people who made the hardware, whilst Amstrad was just a corporation that bought them.
So what's the Amstrad CPC then?
Okay, the Amstrad CPC was a machine that they had made before they purchased Sinclair.
So
and
Amstrad made it and then released it once they had bought Sinclair. That's what you're saying.
They released the CPCs first, and it didn't sell very well. I mean, from what I've been told, the CPC version of Conan the Barbarian was pretty good on it. I've only seen it; I never actually played it.
So they were competitors, right, at the time?
They were competitors at the time, but you see, when the CPC did have an advantage, because at the time Sinclair created the X81, which was actually a black and white computer. So Amstrad did have an advantage at the time.
Yeah.
But no, hold on. Well, no, the Spectrum was the first color computer in the UK. What am I talking about? When the hell did the CPC... again, to Wikipedia!
And beyond!
Christ.
Yeah, you're my resident British expert. You're the one I have to ask these questions for, because I need to know the answers, man. But I remember I recently, like last year, watched some documentary on, I believe it was about the Amstrad CPC and the Spectrum and the creators that made it and how they were competing and stuff.
Yeah, see, I was pretty certain that Amstrad was purchased out by Sinclair was bought by Amstrad, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm looking at this, and okay, no, I'm talking bollocks here. Okay,
Finally,
well,
it's the real
the
shit.
ZX. Okay, well, the ZX Spectrum was released in '82, and the Amstrad CPC was released in '84. I just love all the different models of the Spectrum. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I still remember that.
Computer, right?
The ZX Spectrum was the first color
CPC stands for
home
Color
computer,
Personal Computer.
and it had the crappy rubber keyboard.
Yeah, I'm looking at a picture of the keyboard right now.
It's like no wonder why they ended up creating the Spectrum Plus and the Spectrum 128.
Yeah, it didn't come out until, according to Wikipedia, until the Commodore 64 and Sinclair were already dominating the market.
Mm.
And they made 6 different models of the CPC.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Amstrad actually made a games console,
Yeah.
which was the GX4000. I forgot about that. It was basically just a CPC with a cartridge slot and a joypad.
That's the way
But
things
that
went
was
back
about
then.
it.
What was the name of that documentary, though?
I'm, I'm trying to think now. Ugh, I can't remember, to be brutally honest. See, I remember when I used to play with my friend's Spectrum. You had to buy like he had to keep using a cartridge that you snap on the back of it just so you can actually use joysticks on it, because it didn't actually have like any joystick ports on it.
Oh my god.
So you had to plug something in the back that looked like a RAM cartridge that had the 9-pin D subs on the back of it.
Sounds like the circle nub on the 3DS. A total shite.
Oh,
workaround.
The what was it called? The Circle Pad Pro.
Yeah, yeah.
Ah, that's it. The ZX interface. Yeah. Hold on. So this is what you had to do when you want to use joysticks on the damn thing. You had to buy the ZX interface, which allowed you to plug in joysticks to it, which was really annoying.
Oh Jesus, yeah. Just to play with a joystick, you had to add an interface.
Yeah.
That's really
and
fucking.
Hey, Dizzy Egg. I remember Dizzy Egg.
And then you had to put the 32X add-on on top. Oh, sorry, wrong company. Thinking about Sega. Yeah, I don't think it was a
Yeah,
documentary, but it was a movie. Ah, The Mighty Micro, maybe. Maybe that's what it was.
yeah. My school, even though my school had a bunch of BBC micros, they did actually have the Spectrum Plus 2, which had the tape cassette deck built onto it, and it actually used a proper keyboard
Mm.
with proper size keys, because the models before it, they did start using like proper keys, but they were like the really like laptop style keys.
Right, right, right. Not
Like
those.
these were like the big proper full size keys.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it was Clive Sinclair who started the Sinclair Electronics. Which, what did they start making at first? It was like calculators or some shit.
Yeah, they made the first set of electronic calculators for the
Yeah.
UK before see Texas Instruments eventually and HP eventually got their calculators in the UK, but no, Sinclair made the first electronic calculators in the UK back in like the late 60s and early 70s, and they eventually started building like proprietary computers for companies in the same vein of what IBM was doing, and then they then started building much smaller computers, which they then created the Spectrum 81X, which were like black and white computers, and then they created the Spectrum, which was the first home use color computer.
Right, right. And that's what that movie I watched was about. Was about Clive Sinclair versus the Acorn guys,
All right.
or the Acorn guy. They meshed them all into one guy or something. And it's a pretty entertaining movie, but not historically accurate. I would assume.
Depending on bias and stuff like that.
Well, it was made by BBC, so what do you expect?
Oh, right. Okay, yeah, they would just be slamming
They're
Sinclair.
slamming the Sinclair and saying BBC Micro was the best fucking computer and all that shit.
Well, I mean, the micro did what it did, but it
Didn't the
wasn't that
Sinclair
great for
have better
games.
games though, right?
Yeah,
Because I
I
remember
mean,
seeing in the
okay,
movie at the end where even though
it
the
had.
BBC Micro was so popular, it was all over the country and all over Europe. There was a great scene in the film where the Acorn guy's in a shop and he sees all these games for the Sinclair, and then he looks down and he sees like two or three fucking games for the Micro, and just kind of like cries.
Because I mean, the issue that they had with the BBC Micro had a really powerful processor in it. It's just that it didn't delve into graphics. It was basically just a really powerful calculator.
Right.
In hindsight, I mean, the reason for why it had the better version of Elite was the fact that Elite was just based on maths, and the maths drew the graphics on the screen. But not every game was a wireframe 3D game, so
Right.
of course you didn't have many games on the BBC Micro, unless it was like a text adventure, for example. And then you've purchased a ludicrously expensive computer to play games with text in it.
I like this. It says, in the very early 80s, BBC started what became the BBC Computer Literacy Project. This was started largely in response to a BBC documentary called The Mighty Micro, in which a professor predicted the coming computer revolution and how important it would be to the economy, industry, and lifestyle of the country. It was a very influential film. Questions were asked in Parliament after it was shown.
I mean, I just remember just using those machines a lot when I was in school.
Roger Wilson, that's his fucking name. The Acorn guy.
All right. Yeah, that sounds familiar.
But there was a recent movie version, like a biography of them fighting it out for the computer revolution in the UK.
Oh, well, it's unfortunately they don't. Well, Acorn doesn't really exist. Well, they do exist in some way because they ended up creating the ARM processor, which is pretty much what almost every phone uses.
Still today.
Yeah. I mean, they made several different versions of ARM, although now Samsung is making, quad-core processors for... Yeah, did you hear about that? Samsung has created a quad-core processor for the HTC... for the HTC One X, which is their latest phone. A quad-core processor on a phone.
Well, hell, the PSP has a quad-core processor on it.
Oh, you mean PlayStation Vita?
Yeah. The iPad 2 has one, doesn't it?
No, I think it's just dual core.
All right. But doesn't the Vita have a quad core? That's what they said it was going to come.
I think it does, but I mean if you put size comparison, the HTC One X is smaller than PlayStation Vita.
Oh yeah. But after typing one-handed, I finally found the name of that movie that I watched, which was called Micro Men on BBC.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
You should watch it. It's pretty entertaining. Completely bullshit and biased towards BBC, Acorn, and computers, but
I can imagine.
Fun nonetheless. It says, affectionately comic drama about the British home computer boom of the early 1980s. Legendary inventor Clive Sinclair battles it out with ex-employee Chris Curry, founder of Acorn Computers for dominance. The Micromen. Does that mean they had small cocks?
actually, actually, what was hilarious? There's I've told you about Spitting Image, right?
I don't think so.
Oh, it's like this. It's a it was a TV show back in like the 80s where it was like a comedy, well, like a political comedy show where they make like celebrities and politicians into puppets that had like ridiculous faces and stuff. And I do remember a sketch that they made where they had Clive Sinclair trying to make his next processor, and he called his new processor the E penis, and how he's made the E penis smaller than the previous E penis. It's so funny.
Oh my god. There's a picture of Clive Sinclair, actor Alexander Armstrong, taking a spin in a Sinclair C5. So it made like a little motorcycle and shit.
Yeah. In fact, if you, I don't know if you ever be able to get over here, but in Cambridge, there's like an art exposition going on at the moment where you can actually see that little like it's like a
Four-wheeled motorcycle, yeah.
yeah, but it's actually a lot smaller than you think it
Three-wheel
is.
motorcycle.
It's like a basically it's just a motorized wagon.
Yeah, I'm looking at the picture and he's just barely fitting his ass in that thing.
Pretty much it's just the 80s equivalent to a Segway, but
Yeah.
but you can actually if you go to this there's this art museum near where I work, and they actually have it in the window, and it's crazy looking.
Yeah, I'm looking at a picture of it right now. It is weird as hell. You know what happened to the Segway CEO, right?
Yeah, he died on a Segway, didn't he?
Yeah. At his mansion, driving it around. Oops, drove off cliff. Dead.
Oh dear. Dear.
That's just a sad irony.
Well, I mean that's kind of similar to how what's his face? Crocodile Hunter died. Steve Irwin.
Yeah, Steve Irwin. Well, he didn't die from crocodiles. That's what makes it so ironic.
An animal killed him.
Gets into the ocean and starts playing around with stingrays and shit.
The world's rarest stingray. He gets killed.
Yeah. Just a fluke of fucking nature. Just takes him down, man. He battles crocodiles and like almost gets his arm bit off thousands of times, and it's just in the muck. And then he goes diving once, and a fucking stingray comes up, stings him in the chest, and kills him. That's just how funny life is sometimes.
Oh dear.
But have you seen the Micromen movie?
I've heard about it. I don't think I've watched it though. I'm gonna have to
You have to watch it. It's pretty humorous. Just for the humor factor alone.
It's just gonna be like just them just going back and forth with each other, just slagging each other off.
Yeah, basically that's what it was. Yeah, that's what made it fun. And for us Yanks, it provides a little bit of information about computers that we never saw the light of day in our.
Well, you had the Timex Sinclair, didn't you?
Yeah, but nobody owned the damn thing. At least I never knew anyone that had one.
Fair enough.
Everyone I knew had a Commodore 64.
Yeah, well, I had the Commodore.
Or the Coco.
See, I don't think the Coco came out over here. I don't recall seeing one.
I had a Coco, but I got one when they re-released it. Radio Shack re-released it in '93, so I bought one.
Dang.
It's like $100 or some shit. But it played cartridge games and all that. You could program on it.
Yeah. I subscribe to a guy called Atari Leaf on YouTube, and he does a whole bunch. He loves his fucking Coco.
Oh yeah.
Like every other video is just a Coco
video.
Yeah.
I'd so love to get a Commodore 64 again, but the shipping price alone to Korea would be outrageous because I would have to get it with the monitor, because I remember how fucking great the monitor was on the Commodore 64. Even when I was not playing my Commodore 64, I would hook up my NES to it just because it looked better, brighter, and clearer than on the regular television.
See, I've seen those, and I've always wanted to see one working because I've never had one. I've always had to have my Commodore 64 on my TV.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man. I had the whole system. I had my sister gave me one when I don't know, I was probably like 12 or something. And yeah, it came with the monitor and a dot matrix printer and the disk drive, and I also ended up buying a tape deck and shit.
Huh.
So I was like programming games and then recording them onto the tape deck.
All right. Um, all I had was just the tape deck. I didn't get the printer, and
Oh,
I only ever
shit
had
printer.
I only ever had one cartridge for the Commodore 64, which was Terminator 2,
Mm.
which wasn't that great.
I don't think I had any cartridge ones. I just had disc games. Like I remember playing a really awesome Star Trek game on it.
Oh man, there's a shop in town that actually has a Commodore 64 cartridge. I'm trying to remember what the hell it's called. I know it's a fairly common Commodore 64 cartridge. I'm trying to remember. It's something to do with racing. Shit. It's like Speed Cats or something like that. I can't remember, but I remember seeing it, and then the dickhead at the shop was just like, "Yeah, I'll sell that for 15 quid," and I'm like, "No."
So I assume
Seriously,
the Commodore 64 monitors that were in England and UK, they were all PAL,
right.
so they were all 60 hertz, and you couldn't play like games from the US, cartridge-based games from the US on a British Commodore 64.
Oh, right.
Was there that kind of limitation as well back then?
Oh, you're asking me a question. I thought you were
Yeah.
telling me.
No, I'm
I don't
asking you
know.
'cause I have no idea.
No, I don't have a clue.
Uh,
I know you can play American TurboGrafx games on the European TurboGrafx. All my TurboGrafx games are American. I'm playing them on PAL hardware and they work fine.
they're not slow at all.
Um, no, I don't tell the difference. I
Mhm.
even when that because I know it is running in 50 hertz. I don't
Yeah.
really notice a huge difference.
All right.
But there are a few games where you can notice it big time. Like they're mainly on the NES. If you play like the NES version of Mega Man 2, oh god, it's dreadful on the PAL NES. Seriously, that awesome music in the game sounds terrible
Just
on
slowed
the PAL
down, really
system.
slow.
Yeah, it is. I wish there was a comparison video on YouTube, and I wish I actually was bothered enough to make it. But yeah, the awesome music in Mega Man 2 was just absolutely shoddy on the PAL version, because apparently the NES had huge issues when it came to porting the games from NTSC to PAL. That a lot of people uh, they did what do you call it? Um, wow, my brain's not working today. They cheated the system, like they just did like half the job and that was it, and they released it. And they just made it so that oh, they won't know what this game runs in another country, so why should we care?
Exactly.
And a lot of Konami and Capcom games suffered from the problem as well. um Surprisingly, Super Mario Brothers didn't have that problem, although games like Excite Bike and Ice Climbers did. And then I'm just trying to think of a few others that had the same problem. Um, oh,
I'll think about that while I ask you this question I've been wanting to ask you. Why in the hell did the European version of Contra use robots instead of people?
okay. I can answer that.
Thank you.
Because okay, when Konami, in fact, and I can quote this, there was actually three different names to Contra.
Robo
Um,
detectors or something?
Yeah, because there was a name that they used in Japan first, which had some crazy name I can't even pronounce or even think of right now. They then changed it into Contra, which is Latin for war.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Konami wanted to release Contra into UK and Europe, the biggest problem that they had was that Margaret Thatcher, out of all people, created this funny law that basically said that media couldn't use the name of like films and books and things couldn't be named after a terrorist or anything, and
really?
you couldn't do things like you couldn't sell anything to kids if it had like people fighting against each other, like
Oh my,
mano a mano.
oh my
So
God.
that's why. Okay, that was the reason for why GI Joe was banned in the UK.
Oh
And it
wow.
was also the reason for why Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles ended up being renamed to Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles,
Yeah, yeah.
because they couldn't use the
The
ninja
word
name,
ninja
because because ninja was in
means warrior.
ninja was in, or was it, oh God, Margaret Thatcher's vocabulary of terrorists. So they had to change the name. Um,
Oh my
because
God.
you have to understand, in the 80s, we ended up with the IRA constantly bombing us.
Yeah, yeah. I understand
So,
that, but still, that for video games, changing the names like that
yeah, and
seems a bit much.
for Probotector, despite the fact it was man against aliens,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't want men fighting other men. So, despite the fact that games like Russian Attack did actually have men fighting other men,
Mm-hmm.
they ended up they ended up changing it so that it was robots against robots. So even the
Oh, really?
enemies were robots, and the aliens stayed as they were because that was fine. But they had to change all the human characters into robots.
Even on Russian Attack?
No, no, Russian Tech. For some reason, they were able to do it,
Well, I know
but
why, because they're fucking commies. They're not people. That was the 80s, man, when everybody was fighting the
yeah.
commies. So, Margaret Thatcher, just like Reagan, realized, commies aren't people. Fuck them. We can kill them. They're not really people. They're not, you know, you're a hero if you kill a commie, not a terrorist. As they say,
Yeah.
one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. Hell, there's that new Margaret Thatcher movie coming out, or maybe it already has come out.
Yeah, it is out. Iron Woman, I think it's called. Iron Lady. That's it.
Iron Lady, yeah, with Meryl Streep, is it?
Yeah.
They have an American actress playing Margaret Thatcher. What the fuck is up with
Yeah. Irony.
that?
But no, I did see a few clips of it. She does actually sound pretty good. I always cringe when Americans do British
Oh
accents,
yeah,
but no, she
they're
actually does it pretty well.
British actors do American accents. It just
Oh
sounds so
God,
fucking tough.
that's even worse. Trust me. I went to see this. There was like this small. This was quite a while ago. I was probably like about 12 or 13 at the time, but there was like a theater, and they were like doing this. It was like a small company. They were doing this. They did like a show based on Peanuts, and
Peanuts, not penises.
no, Peanuts, as in the Charlie Brown and
Yes,
Snoopy.
yes. Okay. It's like,
Yeah,
what kind of programs are you watching? Are you going to experimental theater? People dress up like penises? What the fuck?
no. But no, so we went to see it because I really like Charlie Brown as I was a kid, and
As
yeah,
does everyone.
every single actor sounded terrible, and I
Oh,
I
yeah.
was very close to leaving. It's like they don't sound like what they did in the cartoon. This is terrible.
They even messed up the sound of the adult's voice. Wah, 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 wah. That doesn't sound like a wah, 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 wah to me. Sacrilege.
But Yeah.
Apparently, the
Yeah.
creator of
As much
Charlie
as I
Brown
hate
was quite a
Americans.
bastard.
Sorry.
Apparently, the creator of Charlie Brown was quite an asshole.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he hated everybody.
Wow.
That's a fucking biography they should make.
I read somewhere that like this is probably some kind of just bullshit in general, but I was reading like a page quite a few years back of how someone accused Charles Schwartz as being like a communist supporter just because of the way that he wrote Charlie Brown to be
Charles
like
Schultz, you mean?
yeah, I can't pronounce
You said
names for shit.
Schwartz.
Oh, I was, but no, they there was like this website like accusing him of being a communist just because of the way that that he portrayed Charlie Brown as being like this ultra negative.
What? No, that's ridiculous.
No, I just at that point it's just
Charlie
bollocks.
Brown was ultra negative because he was always picked on by everybody, treated like shit,
Yeah,
which was
pretty
the way Charles Schultz was treated as a child. So
much.
that's why he was such an angry man.
You are a man, manly man. God, I gotta watch that again. Team America.
So do you think you're gonna watch The Iron Lady?
I don't know.
Don't most Brits fucking hate Margaret Thatcher?
It depends. It depends on where you are. Like my friend's family really liked her, but that's just because they're fucking rich.
Yeah.
And they're all a bunch of conservative, well, people that just like the conservatives, kind of like people who like Republicans.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you go up north, for example, if you go to like Manchester and all the places that had the jobs fucked over because of her decisions and stuff, yeah, they really hate her.
Oh, yeah. I've heard a lot of people hated Winston Churchill as well.
Yeah, it depends because you see with Churchill, we wouldn't have been able to go through the war without Churchill because he knew how to sort out wars and shit. But at the same time, he was like a high-end aristocrat who had a shit ton of money behind his name,
Right.
and I just think people just didn't like the fact that he was absolutely loaded. So. And plus, this is just my honest opinion, but I honestly believe that he was the reason for why the Cold War had started, because he absolutely fucking hated Stalin for the fact that he was communist and he didn't want his money to get lost. So, because he did create that line that said, keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer, because he wasn't talking about Hitler, he was talking about Stalin.
Uh-huh. I thought that was Zen Tzu that came up with that.
Did he? Well, Churchill said it.
Yeah, I think he copied the famous Japanese Art of War from that book, The Art of War.
Fair enough, maybe so, but I know Churchill did use that phrase, and he was actually, lots of people at the time thought he was talking about Hitler, but he was actually talking about Stalin.
Stalin was worse than fucking Hitler. Most people do not realize Stalin killed more people than Hitler did.
Really?
Yeah, Stalin killed over 25 million people.
Wow.
Mostly his own people.
Yeah. Well, I know.
Mass murder people that he didn't like.
Well, I knew. Well, Hitler just killed a whole bunch of Jews.
Yeah, well, Stalin didn't care. He killed Jews. He killed everybody.
Oh, dang.
And if you're going by number of
so how on earth
killed,
did they become allies then? That's what I don't get.
What's that?
How on earth did they become allies then, even though they hated each other?
It was a necessity.
The Second World War, just at this point, is when you get into it, it just sounds like a complete mess.
Well, it was a necessity because Germany could not afford to have Russia attack them. And so they knew that there was a possibility that Russia would attack, so they formed an alliance with Russia, just to kind of keep them off their back long enough so they could take over few countries that they wanted, namely Poland. And, if they fucking attack Poland, the Soviet Union is going to want to go after them. So they kind of made like a little alliance just to protect themselves. It worked for a while, and then, of course, the Germans attacked Russia, which, of course, provided their downfall. Yeah, Hitler hated every fucking buddy. I mean, he hated the fucking Japanese, but he still allied with them, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
He even tried to get the Mexicans to attack the United States.
Oh, wow.
There's a famous letter that he wrote to the president, or whatever they call it in Mexico back then.
El Presidente.
El Presidente, yeah, it must be president. Sent a letter saying, you could attack America if you want to. We'll get your back, send you some extra weapons and extra food and shit. Nothing ever came of it.
No.
Get back, get revenge for the Mexican War. American and Mexican War. But, well, it was really fun doing another podcast with you, but it's pretty late. I have to get to bed and get up in about 3 or 4 hours. So thanks, Ian.
All right.
And we talked about some really good shit on this episode, so maybe I won't have to cut that much out.
All right.
So keep in touch, and let's keep making Stalking the Retro. Thank you once again for joining us at Stalking the Retro podcast, and our resident UK expert, Ian Septic Lemon.
I would also really love to thank White Cube for allowing me to use some of their music in this podcast. Make sure you visit their site and listen to their music at thewhitecube.com. That's cube with a Q.